When a boy at a yard sale on Route 19 outside Summersville, West Virginia picked up a box of cereal from a folding table, not to buy it, just to hold it, turning it in his hands like he was reading something precious, and a man browsing the table next to him said, "You a cereal fan?" The boy put the box down fast, like he'd been caught, and said, "I just wanted to see what kind it was. I haven't had this kind in a while. She buys it for Chloe, but she hides it before I get home from school. By the time I walk in the door, the good stuff is gone. There's a pantry with a lock. That's where everything goes. I get whatever's left, usually rice, sometimes noodles. Whatever doesn't need to be hidden. Not picky, not allergic, not on a diet." A boy standing at a yard sale holding a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch like a museum artifact because his stepmother locked the real food in a pantry and left him the scraps. The yard sale was spread across the grass in front of a shuttered body shop on Route 19, Nicholas County, the kind of Saturday morning scene where people sold what they didn't need and bought what they couldn't afford new. Card tables with kitchen stuff, kids' bikes with flat tires, a rack of coats, and a folding table with pantry overflow, opened boxes of cereal, half-used spice jars, canned goods with dented labels. Reed Combs was there because his wife wanted a bread maker, and yard sales were the only place you found bread makers for under $10. He was 44 years old, 6 feet 3 inches, 266 pounds, with a dark brown beard and forearms covered in sleeve tattoos that ran from his wrists past his elbows. He'd been a lineman for the power company for 22 years, the kind of job where you climb poles in ice storms and your hands never fully unclench from the grip. He was president of the Nicholas Iron MC, a 10-member club based out of Summersville that met at Reed's garage on Wednesdays and rode the Gauley River roads on Saturdays. Subscribe to Asphalt Angels and hit that notification bell, because this story starts with a boy holding a cereal box at a yard sale like it was something he'd lost, and a man who asked the wrong question at the right time. Reed set down the bread maker. The boy was 10, rail thin, brown hair buzzed short, wearing a striped t-shirt that fit fine, and jeans that fit fine, and sneakers that were clean. He didn't look neglected. That was the trick. Everything on the outside was maintained. The packaging was correct. It was the inventory that was wrong. "What's your name?" "Marcus. Marcus Lowe." "Marcus, who's Chloe?" "My stepsister. She's 8. She's Denise's daughter. Denise is my stepmom. My dad married Denise 2 years ago. Before Denise, it was just me and Dad, and we ate whatever we wanted. Cereal for dinner, pizza rolls, ice cream on Tuesdays because Dad said Tuesdays needed a reason to exist. Then Denise moved in, and everything changed. Changed how? Denise has rules about food, but the rules are only for me. Chloe eats whatever she wants. Lucky Charms, Pop-Tarts, yogurt tubes, the good snacks, the fruit leather, the string cheese, all of it. But when I get home from school at 3:30, the pantry is locked. There's a padlock on it, the kind with a combination. Chloe knows the code. I don't. Denise locks it before I get off the bus. She says it's because I eat too much, and I go through food too fast. I don't eat too much. I eat like a 10-year-old boy eats. Chloe eats the same amount, but Chloe's food isn't locked up. What's in the pantry? Everything good. Cereal, crackers, granola bars, fruit snacks, chips, cookies, juice boxes, peanut butter. The good peanut butter, the Jif, not the store brand. The fridge has stuff too, but the good stuff, the yogurt, the cheese sticks, the lunch meat, the frozen waffles, those go on a shelf in the back behind the milk where I can't reach without moving things, and she'd know if I moved things. She'd know? She arranges the fridge. She puts things in a specific order. If something's moved, she knows. She checks when she gets home from picking up Chloe. Chloe gets picked up at school. I ride the bus. By the time I walk in, the pantry is locked and the fridge is arranged, and my options are whatever's on the counter, which is usually white rice in the rice cooker, noodles, or bread. Plain bread. No peanut butter, because the peanut butter is behind the lock. If this story has touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Asphalt Angels. Because a 10-year-old boy lived in a house with a full pantry and a full fridge, and ate plain rice every day, because the combination lock was the line between her daughter's food and his. Does your dad know? My dad works. He's gone 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. He works at the sawmill in Craigsville. Long shifts, long drive. When he's home, the pantry is unlocked. When he's home, I can eat. Denise opens it for dinner, and everything looks normal. Dad sees the food on the table and the kids eating, and he thinks it's like that all day. He doesn't know about the lock. He doesn't know about the arrangement. He doesn't know that from 7 a.m. when he leaves to 6 p.m. when he gets home, I'm on a different menu than Chloe. A worse menu. A locked menu. Have you told him? Once. I said, Dad, Denise locks the pantry. And he said, she's just organizing, buddy. She's trying to keep the kitchen in order. And Denise was right there, and she smiled and said, Marcus goes through snacks like a raccoon. I'm just managing the budget. And Dad laughed. And I didn't bring it up again, because she made it a joke, and he believed the joke. And the joke is, I eat rice while Chloe eats cereal, and nobody sees the difference. What does Chloe think about it? Chloe doesn't think about it. She's 8. She opens the pantry, she grabs what she wants, she closes it. She's never stood in front of it and tried the combination and been wrong. She's never heard the click and known it means not today. She lives in a house where food is free. I live in the same house where food has a password. If you're watching this story, hit that hype button right now. It's free, takes 1 second, and helps these stories reach the people who need them. Now, back to the story. Marcus, are you hungry right now? I'm always hungry. I've been hungry for 2 years. Not starving, she feeds me. There's rice, there's noodles, there's bread. I'm not going to die. But I'm hungry the way a person is hungry when they can see the food they want, and it's 10 feet away behind a lock. The hunger isn't in my stomach. It's in my eyes. I watch Chloe eat a granola bar, and my mouth waters, and I go to my room and eat a piece of bread, and I'm fine. I'm alive. But I'm not eating. I'm surviving. Does Denise ever catch you trying to get food? Once. I tried to guess the combination. I stood in front of the pantry, and I tried every number from 000 to 050, and I got to 037, and it clicked, and the lock opened, and I grabbed a granola bar and a juice box, and I closed it, and spun the dial, and ate the granola bar in the bathroom. She found the wrapper in the trash. She said, "Did you break into the pantry?" And I said yes, and she changed the combination, and she added a rule. Now I don't get rice until 5 p.m. Before, I could have rice whenever. Now the rice cooker doesn't go on until 5 because she said I needed to learn that food has consequences. What about school lunch? School lunch is the best meal of my day. Every day. I eat everything on the tray. I eat what other kids leave. My friend Jacob doesn't like green beans, and he passes them to me, and I eat them because green beans are food, and food is food. The lunch lady, Mrs. Brennan, she knows. She doesn't say anything, but she gives me an extra roll sometimes. She puts it on my tray without looking at me, like it's an accident, but it happens every day, and accidents don't happen every day. Reed bought the cereal from the yard sale table. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, opened box, most of it still there. He handed it to Marcus. The boy held it with both hands. "This is mine?" "That's yours. She'll see it." Then eat some now. Marcus opened the box right there at the yard sale. He reached in and took a handful and ate it standing on the grass next to a folding table of junk in a parking lot in Nicholas County, and he chewed it slow, eyes closed, like the taste was something he needed to memorize because he didn't know when it would happen again. It's the same. It tastes the same. Cereal doesn't change, buddy. No, but I did. I forgot what it tasted like. 2 years. I forgot. Reed stepped away and called 911. This is Reed Combs. I'm at the yard sale on Route 19 near the old body shop outside Summersville. I've got a 10-year-old boy named Marcus Lowe, who's been living on rice and noodles for 2 years because his stepmother padlocks the pantry and hides food from him while feeding her own daughter everything in the house. Father is Daryl Lowe. Stepmother is Denise. Home address is 48 Laurel Fork Road, Summersville area. I need CPS to do a home visit and check that pantry. He texted the Nicholas Iron MC group chat. Yard sale on 19 by the body shop. 10-year-old kid. Stepmom padlocks the pantry. Feeds her own kid everything. Leaves him rice. Kid just held a cereal box like a trophy. Need brothers. If Asphalt Angels has become part of your week, consider joining the channel membership. Just a couple bucks a month keeps these stories coming. Links below. Now, back to the ending. 2 brothers arrived, Tate and Bunch. Tate was a carpenter, 6 feet 0 inches, 240, with a blonde beard and a nail gun callus on his right trigger finger. Bunch was a concrete finisher who'd poured every sidewalk in Summersville and said he could identify the town by the cracks. They walked up to the yard sale and saw Reed standing next to a 10-year-old boy who was eating cereal from a box with his hand, and they knew. You don't need to hear the story when the image tells it. A kid eating cereal at a yard sale like it's his last meal. Tate brought a bag from the gas station, beef jerky, a Gatorade, a Snickers, a bag of Doritos, and a banana. Marcus looked at the bag. All of this is for me? All of it. At the same time. At the same time. That question, at the same time, hit different than anything else the boy had said, because it meant he'd been eating one thing at a time for 2 years, one option, rice or noodles or bread, never a meal with choices, never a plate with more than one item that he'd picked himself. The idea of eating multiple things at once was foreign to him. It was abundance, and abundance was a language he'd forgotten. Marcus ate the Snickers first, then the jerky, then the Doritos. He ate them methodically, not frantic, but efficient, like a kid who'd learned to eat when food was available because availability was temporary. He folded each wrapper neatly and put it in his pocket. Not in the trash, in his pocket. Because wrappers in the trash were evidence, and evidence was how Denise found out about the granola bar, and evidence was how the combination got changed. 2 years of hiding wrappers had made it muscle memory. He was sitting at a yard sale surrounded by bikers, and a deputy was on the way, and he was still hiding the wrappers. Reed noticed. You can throw those away, buddy. You don't have to hide them. Marcus looked at the wrappers in his pocket. He pulled them out. He looked at them like they were a habit he was deciding whether to keep. Then he set them on the folding table next to the cereal box and left them there, out in the open. First time in 2 years. He saved the banana. Bananas are good for you. That's what they say at school. I want to save something good for later. A 10-year-old boy rationing a banana because 2 years of locked pantries had taught him that later might not have food. Bunch watched the boy eat and then walked to his truck and sat in the cab and put his forehead on the steering wheel and stayed there for a while. When he came back, his eyes were dry, but his jaw was locked, and he stood next to Marcus like a wall between the boy and anything that might try to take the banana. A Nicholas County deputy arrived. CPS caseworker Rhonda Beasley arrived from Summersville, a compact woman with short hair who'd been doing child welfare in the county for 16 years. She listened to Marcus. Same flat delivery. The lock. The combination. The fridge arrangement. The rice cooker. The two menus in the same house. Rhonda went to 48 Laurel Fork Road. She came back 45 minutes later. Her face was the face of someone who'd seen exactly what the boy described and wished the boy had been exaggerating. She sat on a folding chair at the yard sale and opened her notebook and read from it like a police report, because that's what it was going to become. The pantry has a combination padlock, master lock. The pantry is fully stocked. Cereal, snacks, crackers, granola bars, peanut butter, juice boxes, all organized by type, all accessible if you know the combination. The refrigerator is arranged in tiers. The top two shelves and the back of the bottom shelf have the premium items: yogurt, cheese sticks, lunch meat, frozen waffles. The front of the bottom shelf has rice, noodles, a loaf of white bread, and margarine. Two different kitchens in the same kitchen. When I asked Denise about the lock, she said, "Marcus has a weight problem, and I'm managing his intake." Marcus does not have a weight problem. Marcus is underweight for his age and height. When I asked why Chloe's food wasn't managed, she said, "Chloe's a growing girl." Marcus is also a growing boy. The differential treatment is clear, documented, and deliberate. Daryl Lowe was called at work. He drove home in 20 minutes. When Rhonda showed him the padlock on the pantry, his own pantry in his own house, that he walked past every morning at 6 a.m. in the dark without noticing, he stood in the kitchen and stared at it. "That's been there for 2 years?" "According to your son, yes." Daryl opened the pantry. Full shelves, cereal, crackers, good peanut butter, juice boxes. He looked at the lock in his hand. He looked at the rice cooker on the counter. He looked at the loaf of white bread next to it. "I didn't know." "Your son tried to tell you." "He said she was organizing." I believed her. "She said he was a raccoon with snacks, and I laughed. I laughed. My son was hungry, and I laughed at the joke about why." He sat down at the kitchen table. He put the padlock on the table and stared at it. A master lock. $3 at the hardware store. And it had been the most powerful thing in his house for 2 years. More powerful than the mortgage. More powerful than the marriage. More powerful than him. A $3 lock had decided what his son ate, and he'd walked past it every morning in the dark for 730 days. She told me Marcus liked rice. She said it was his thing. She said he was a picky eater. And I work 12 hours a day. I come home and dinner's on the table, and the house is clean, and I thought she was handling everything. She was handling everything, Rhonda said. That was the problem. Denise was removed from the home. The padlock was removed. The fridge was reorganized. The rice cooker stayed, because Marcus actually liked rice. He just didn't want it to be his only option. The first night after the lock came off, Marcus stood in front of the pantry. Open, no padlock, no combination, just shelves of food and an open door. He stood there for almost a minute. Daryl watched from the kitchen table. "You can take whatever you want, buddy." "I know, I'm just looking at it. I want to look at it open. I looked at it closed for 2 years. I want to look at it open for a while." He reached in and took a granola bar, unwrapped it, took a bite, looked at his dad. "It's good." "It was always good. It was always yours." "I know. But it didn't feel like mine. It felt like Chloe's. Everything in this house felt like Chloe's. The food, the couch, the TV remote, the good towels. I had a room and a bed and rice. She had a house. You have a house now. The whole house. Every shelf." The Nicholas Iron MC started a program called Every Shelf, named for what Marcus didn't have, access to every shelf in his own kitchen. The program partnered with school nurses across Nicholas County to track children showing signs of differential feeding. Kids who are hungry at school despite having two-income homes, kids who hoard food from the cafeteria, kids whose growth charts don't match their household income. The card read, "A hungry child in a full house isn't underfed. They're unloved selectively. Check who has the key." 6 months later, Marcus was in 5th grade. He'd gained 14 pounds, 12th percentile to 38th. His pediatrician said the growth was coming back now that the fuel was consistent. He was eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. Real snacks. He packed his own lunch every morning because he liked choosing. The act of choosing was the point, not the food itself. He stood in front of the open pantry every morning and picked what he wanted and put it in a brown paper bag, and the choosing was the thing that made him feel like the house was his. He always packed more than he needed. His teacher said he offered food to other kids at lunch, half his sandwich, a granola bar, fruit snacks. The most generous kid with food she'd ever seen. She didn't know it was because he knew what it felt like to watch someone eat something you couldn't have. Every granola bar he gave away was proof that food wasn't scarce anymore. Daryl cooked dinner now. Not well. The man had survived on pizza rolls and sawmill cafeteria food for a decade, but he tried. Tuesday nights, he made spaghetti because Marcus said spaghetti was his favorite, and Daryl said, "Since when?" And Marcus said, "Since always. I just couldn't have it." She put the sauce in the back of the fridge. Daryl bought 3 jars of sauce the next day and put them on the counter where anyone could reach them. Daryl and Denise were separated. The investigation confirmed a pattern of differential treatment. Marcus on a restricted diet, while Chloe ate freely, the padlock as physical evidence, the fridge arrangement as behavioral evidence. Denise maintained that she was managing the household budget. The caseworker's report noted that the budget had room for Jif peanut butter, 4 brands of cereal, and string cheese. Just not for Marcus. Chloe visited on alternating weekends. She and Marcus got along fine. The lock wasn't Chloe's fault. The first weekend she visited after the lock came off, Marcus opened the pantry and said, "Want a granola bar?" And she said, "Yeah." And he handed her one and took one himself, and they sat on the couch eating granola bars at the same time from the same box, and it was the most ordinary thing in the world, and it had taken 2 years, and a yard sale, and a cereal box, and a man on a motorcycle to get there. Reed drove past the yard sale spot one Saturday. The body shop was still shuttered. The lot was empty. No folding tables, no cereal boxes, no boy holding something he'd lost. He drove to the gas station and bought a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and left it on the seat of his truck. Not for anyone in particular, just to have it there, just to know it was open. Be the one who asks a kid at a yard sale what they're really looking for. Thank you for watching this story. If it reminded you that hunger in a full house isn't about money, it's about who holds the key, please share it. Subscribe to Asphalt Angels for more stories proving that sometimes the cruelest lock is the one on the pantry in your own kitchen. Tell us in the comments. Have you ever lived in a house where the rules were different for you?